We are continuing with key issue 2 of chapter 10 on development, and we'll continue to talk about gender inequality and the Gender Inequality Index. Another area we can look at is with employment. Another way to empower women is by ensuring that they have access to loans. And so this is a picture that you can find in figure 10-25, and it shows women in India that are meeting with a banker for business loans. A really popular program known as the Grameen program is prevalent throughout the world and focuses on women in less developed countries in the hopes of providing them loans and opportunities to have the economic access necessary to create businesses and generate wealth, or at least more wealth, in their developing countries. Another area to gauge gender inequality is through reproductive health, specifically for women. If you look at figure 10-26, it's located on page 364 of your textbook, you can see the maternal mortality rate included in the GII. Maternal mortality means that in childbirth, this is how many women die per 100,000 live births. As you can see through the key, the maternal mortality rate is much higher in your less developed countries and much lower in your more developed countries. Let us contrast this with the adolescent fertility rate. If you look at the key, this is how many girls between the ages of 15 to 19 have children per 1,000. Surprisingly here, you will see that the United States falls to the next category. Typically, it falls into the same category with more developed countries, but in this particular category, it does not. Many would attribute this to political debates over the expansion of family planning and the education surrounding contraceptives. For example, in many states, particularly in the South, there's more emphasis on teaching about abstinence than there is on education surrounding family planning. Figure 10-28A also shows the core and periphery countries again. This was introduced in Unit 2. Remember, your core countries are the countries that are more economically powerful when it comes to the global economy. Your semi-periphery countries are somewhere in the middle, and your periphery countries are on the outskirts, meaning that they're more of your less developed countries, and they very much are at the will of those core countries. Again, you can also look at the core, semi-periphery, and periphery countries falling in line with the levels of development that are administered among countries or regions by the HDI. We can also see the spatial relationship of the core and the periphery, and it's much more apparent in this world map that you see here. This projection will be centered on the North Pole, so you can see Europe, North America, Japan, South Korea as being part of the core. These are your more developed countries. That could also include the South Pacific, and this includes Australia and New Zealand. In your periphery, which is on the outside of that, you've got Latin America, Africa, Asia. To really drive the connection home, take a look at figure 10-30 located on page 366 of your textbook. The general relationship observed in this map is countries high in gender inequality are lower in overall development. Ultimately, if a country wants to further progress and develop, the key is to focus on women. Women's empowerment, women's employment, and women's access to health. This marks the end of the second half of Key Issue 2. The first half can be found in the previous video as connected to Key Issue 1.